Before I starts about the drones 2021, do you have any idea about the drone rules 2021? Any idea? Anything heard about it, or anything what you know about it? Do you know what is drone 20 rules 2021? Anybody? Shubham, you must be knowing.
Yeah, so I only know the things that concern my like use cases.
Correct.
So where can we fly? Where can we not fly?
Right. Right.
Those regions, like we cannot fly in airport zones. We cannot fly in red zones. We can only fly in green zones, and that also if we own the camp or if we own the premises, and if we are an educational institute, then we are able to fly. And that also, I guess, the ceiling is 400 feet, uh,
Right. Right.
maybe
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
400 feet,
Yeah.
and we have to fly below it. And if we are a company, then also we are allowed to do R&D activities within our premises. And like this is the main part that was concerned. So I know this part, and
Very good. Very good.
please
So
guide
most
us.
of the things you are already aware,
Yeah,
but I would say that I will make sure that in next 5 days you are completely aware of drone rules 2021. Okay,
absolutely.
so that is what is the intent of this course, where first thing DGCA wants the pilot to know the rules. Okay, there are 55 rules. Okay, and there are 12 segments which are divided and made 55 rules. So all those 55 rules you should be aware. Not necessarily all 55 rules are applicable to you. There are some rules which are not really meant for a pilot. Okay, or not really, I would say, though they are affecting the pilot, or they are for pilots, but they are not directly useful for them. There are some rules which are very useful from an operations perspective, which you should be knowing. Okay, so that is what intent of this particular first module. So let's start first with the first session, that is stakeholders and their laws, drone rules 2021. We'll see each by each. So first, let's see the international rules, regulations, standards, and practice. Okay, so how does the aviation world evolved, or how the aviation, the uniformity, or how the people, like, you are not flying only in country like India or UK or Germany or US or anywhere. You are going to fly across the globe, the aeroplanes, right? So as we saw that, I have shared you yesterday also a first picture about the flight on 17th December not 1903. Okay, where the Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers flew their first powered aircraft. Okay, it is a powered aircraft which was heavier than air. Okay, that's why it is called powered aircraft, which was heavier than air, which flew for 12 seconds. Only 12 seconds it flew, but that changed the entire, the look to perspective, that where humans have dreamed that one of the day we will be flying like birds. Okay, and that's the dream what we achieved over there. So though it started with 12 seconds in that particular day, Wright brothers have flown that same aircraft multiple times and demonstrate, and each time the amount of the time it has flown in the air has increased. So by end of the day, they were able to fly almost for more than 2 minutes of flight time. Okay, that's what is the documents or documentary says about it. But as you see, the people started, and there was a lot of research, a lot of progress. Everybody started building the aeroplanes, and started understanding, and making changes, and making sure that aeroplanes are flying. And then in next almost like 30-40 years, there was a considerable development into the aviation industry, like especially during the World War I. Okay, if you see, the World War I was actually the war of trenches. Okay, trenches and rifles. Okay, so it is called war of trenches and rifles. And basically, end of the World War I, actually there was a considerable development of two technologies. One was the tank, because trenches was causing hindrance to cross the land. Okay, because you could not carry, or you cannot take operations, or you cannot carry your army further if the trenches are there. And there was so the armored vehicle which came into the existence, which is now called as a tank. So tanks started coming, developing after World War I. Simultaneously after World War I, or during World War I, aeroplanes were used, flown, but they didn't have much of the use cases at that point in time. Those time it was just flown for getting the reconciliation missions, like you trying to understand the enemy territory and field and setup and all the things. Okay, so that was why the aeroplanes were flown during World War I. But over the period of time, in next 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, aeroplane got developed so much. People thought that there were only two technologies if you want to become a superpower. One is the aeroplane or the aircraft, and second is the tanks. So that's why if you see, there was in a defense segment, all the large countries started spending much amount or much of their economy on the tanks development as well as the aircraft development. Like if you see UK, France, or Germany, or even USA, okay, all these countries, Canada to that extent, everybody started developing aircrafts, okay, and developing tanks. So that's where the technology involvement has happened from a defense perspective and all. But simultaneously, because there's so much aircraft, the people saw that there could be an application of aircraft for civil use also, and then it started initially. The use case for the aircraft was for air mail delivery or parcel deliveries. Okay, similarly, like what we talk in a drone, also like we are talking about flying the drones, and all, there are a lot of other cases. But right now there would be a buzz you must be hearing about 10 minutes delivery. Okay, so we are talking about all this delivery happening by the drones. So similarly, in the aviation sector also, initially the parcel delivery or the post mail delivery which was there was started using the aircraft earlier. Even the first flight what we talk from Karachi to Mumbai by late JRD Tata was basically for the delivery of air mails, not for the passengers. It was initially meant for flying or taking the parcel from one location to another location. So huge parcels or mails basically from one location to a location. So, but then eventually, people started, carrying passengers, flying passengers. So it started with 10 seaters, 20 seaters, 30 seaters, and then aeroplanes started becoming bigger and bigger and all the things. So now there were aircrafts were flying from one location to another location within the country, within the cities. I mean, one city to another city, as well as one country to another country also. Okay, so there were a lot of aeroplanes were flying across the globe, and everybody thought that we need to have some kind of a uniformity in understanding when we are flying these aircraft across the locations. Okay, so to achieve the uniformity and agreement between the nations in technical, economic, legal, operational matters with respect to civil aviation, a treaty for establishment of international organization was signed. Okay, so there were almost 36 countries or 36 nations who participated in this convention, that is Chicago Conventions, what we call, that is on 7th December 1944. There was a Chicago Convention in which all nations agreed that we need to have some kind of an international level organization, and all the people who signed this treaty will be bound by that, the rules and regulations set up by this international organization. Okay, so this International Civil Aviation Organization, or what we called as ICAO, currently headquartered at Montreal, Canada, has council consisting of 36 contracting states. So contracting states here means nations. Okay, so these all 36 nations signed that treaty and agreed that we'll have a uniformity in understanding or operating the civil aviation with respect to technical, economics, legal, and operational matters. Okay, so that's why you see now there are almost more than 100 plus countries who are part of this organization. So everybody across the globe follows the common understanding of flying the aeroplanes, okay, or flying the civil airlines or civil commercial airlines, I would say. Okay, similarly, as we had a common understanding for flying the civil airlines, in 2015 the ICAO thought that we need to have a common framework for RPAS. Okay, RPAS means remotely piloted aircraft system. Okay, so what was the three focus areas? One was international instrument flying operations, global interoperability with regards to certificate of airworthiness, operator certificate, and remote pilot license. So currently license what you are getting here in India is only applicable and valid in India. If you go to US, you have to get a different license, or you may not get license because you are not citizen of US. Similarly, if somebody is from US or British or any other country outside India comes to India and he said, I want to have a remote pilot license in India. He cannot have it because currently, as per the rule, it is only applicable to Indian citizens. So that interoperability of the license is still not been signed or accepted by all other countries with respect to ICAO. Okay, so ICAO had made a framework. Initially, they made a framework in 2015 on these lines. Okay, the last option, national authority focus, that is framework for domestic operation. So as of now, all the countries who has adopted ICAO form framework has only adopted the framework for domestic operations. So right now, if you see the rules and regulations, what we ever see, like whether you go to European countries, you go to UK, you go to Singapore, you go to Australia, you go to USA, Canada, any location, any country, they will have their own set of rules for flying the drones, which we call as a framework for domestic operations. So as of now, every country has its own framework based on the framework set up by ICAO. Okay, but there is no interoperability. Like if you have a drone which is certified in India, doesn't mean that that drone will be certified in any other country. So that certificate of airworthiness is not common. Okay, similarly operator certificate and similarly remote pilot license. This is still to come into it. Okay, so ICAO is working on it. More or less in next couple of years we'll have this interoperability also available, so that your license is valid across the globe, so that your drone can be flown across the globe in any other country also. If I have to go, if I bring some drone from outside and I want to fly it, I need to get it registered, I may have to get it certificate of airworthiness done for those drones also. Okay, so that is what it talks about it. So these were the criteria set by ICAO with respect to the RPAS in 2015. So once it has been set up, the first countries like USA, UK, Canada, European countries, they adopted that. We didn't take immediately. Okay, so if you see in 2016 already USA has adopted the framework and started. So in 2016 to 2017, they had almost 1 lakh pilots in USA. That point in time, you think in 1 year almost they had 1 lakh pilots, drone pilots flying over there. Okay, and certified pilots, I would say. Okay, so see how much adoption was there. We still do not have that number in India, though we had a framework now in 2021, and now almost we will be completing 4 years. Being 4 years having the rules and regulations, still we do not have 1 lakh pilots. Okay, even not even 50,000 pilots, I would say. So we are still lacking behind in that segment also. Okay, so there are various reasons. It's not about just becoming a pilot, but there is a lot of other things also required for getting that many numbers, that many people trained to become the pilots. Okay, so what was the international rules, regulations, standard and practice followed for RPAS? So RPAS, the Remote Pilot Aircraft System Panel, was formed by Aircraft Navigation Commission in 2015 as a single focal point for all UAS, that is unmanned aircraft system related to matter in ICAO. Similar to civil aviation or commercial airlines, there was a separate team was formed or panel was formed which focused more on the RPAS. Okay, so what was the people belonging to this team? RPAS consists of working group members from airworthiness, air traffic management, detect and avoid system. So these are all different segments in ICAO where there were a lot of people who had taken and made a separate panel or a team to look into unmanned aircraft system related matters in ICAO. Okay, so there are a lot of things. So there are a lot of sessions, seminars, workshops happens in ICAO where the people from different countries are being invited. Like a couple of months back, there was a team which has gone to Canada as well as USA for discussing on BVLOS. Okay, that is beyond visual line of sight. Currently, whatever the license what we are getting, whatever the authorizations we are getting for flying the drone is more or less in the VLOS segment, that is visual line of sight. So we can only fly a drone under VLOS condition. So whatever the training we are getting it or whatever the flying we are doing currently in drone segment will be always in VLOS segment, that is visual line of sight. Okay, so these people do conduct, they were conducting a session on BVLOS. It was almost like 5-day session where people have visited. So you will see that now in India currently there is no license being given on BVLOS segment. Okay, so maybe down the line next 2 3 months we'll get a regulation amendment happening on that segment, where people will able to fly drone beyond visual line of sight. Because right now we are talking about drone deliveries. Okay, the deliveries happening through the drones, and flying the drones beyond visual line of sights and all that thing. So because that would require a strong ecosystem, strong regulations, and you need to understand how the drones will be flown when the pilot is not able to see the drone which is flying. Okay, so you need, because we don't have that ecosystem yet. Like for example, if I want to fly a drone from here, and it needs to go without pilot seeing, visually seeing the drone flying, and it needs to go, let's say for example, in Surat, or maybe in Daman, or maybe any city which may be around 50 to 100 kilometers far. Like for example, I want to fly a drone from Mumbai to Igatpuri also, or from Igatpuri to Mumbai also. In that scenario, how my drone will be flown, how my drone will be managed, how my drone will land in case of any kind of emergency in between when it is flying, how that can be handled, or what could be there. And then we do not have that much flight time right now with the drones also. Like right now, if you see any commercial drone what we fly, maximum flight time what we have seen is about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, max to max 1 hour. Okay, beyond that we don't see any commercial drone which is been capable of flying that. Okay, the more we need a flight time, the more battery will be there, more weight will increase, and all other complexities we'll see. So in the next 2 days of theory session, we'll see what are the challenges we see when we making the current challenge of the building the drone is about the power. Okay, until this we do not solve that aspect of power, we will not able to break through, or we will not able to do some advancement into the drone industry or utilization of drone. Basically, we are actually currently into hindrance because of the power requirement for the drone flying. Okay, so that is what it is. So we'll see in the next couple of slides more about it in the next sessions. Civil aviation requires a lot of documents, lot of things to be run. Okay, so basically if you see in India, as the aeroplanes or aircraft were flown initially, as we said in 1928, 1929, JRD Tata flown aircraft from Karachi to Mumbai. Simultaneously, a lot of princely states have, or the kings or the princes, prince, they who were actually were very rich and all the things, they started purchasing, setting up their own base of their aircraft, and they had that possession of those aircraft, and they were flying the aircraft from one location to another location. And probably they wanted to fly over their territory also to see a visual sight of their land and all the things. So British at that time were ruling the India, and they thought that we need to have some kind of act, or the rules and regulations needs to be set up around this part. So the first law was passed in India to regulate the civil aviation industry and make better provision for the control of the manufacturing, possessing, use, operation, sale, import, export of the aircraft. Though there were not much of the I would say what manufacturing of the aircraft was that, but there were parts and all those things were manufactured in those days, or even currently also, though we are not so actively manufacturing commercial or civil aircrafts, but still we make a lot of parts for those. Okay, so a lot of parts which are being used by bigger airlines are being made in India also. Okay, so that manufacturing parts what we're doing, or possessing the aircraft, use, operation, sale, import, like you can buy a aircraft from outside people, and again you can resell it to somebody else in the country also. So that all that things was governed by the Aircraft Act 1934. Till date we were still following this Aircraft Act 1934 until 2024, where the new rule is being put up and in the parliament, and it is in discussion and yet to be finally been accepted. Though it has been on dotted line, it has been accepted, and it will make the change into the Aircraft Act now. Okay, but we still follow this old rule and regulations, with 23 plus of amendment has happened to that act. Okay, so the first amendment has happened was in 1937, that is Aircraft Rules 1937, under the Aircraft Act 1934, applied to and to person on aircraft registered in India, aircraft operator in India, as well as aircraft for time being in and over Indian airspace. That means if you having an aircraft belonging to UK or Germany, and you are flying over the Indian airspace, you have to follow aircraft rules 1937. Okay, so whatever the rules and regulations are being mentioned, simultaneously when you are flying over Germany, you are flying any country, that country rules and regulations you should be following. Okay, so basically you need to follow whatever the rules and regulations are being adopted by the respective countries. More or less same rules and regulations are there, but then there might be minor differences here and there which you should be aware when you are flying over the specific route. So whenever you are planning any flight route, you should know two things. One is the rules and regulations, and second is the weather on your route. Okay, so that is what you need to understand. There are a lot of other amendment documents that, as I said, aircraft rules 1937, these almost has 22 plus of amendments. So these all amendments are called as car, okay, or civil aviation requirements. Simultaneously in 2018, India also had one car released specifically for drone, because earlier drones was considered as a part of the civil airlines or civil aviation. Okay, whereas recently it has been separated out from the civil aviation, though it is a part of civil aviation, but it is treated as a separate entity, as a drone directorate. Okay, so there is a separate team which manages the entire operations. Okay, right from certifications to operations to making and following the rules and regulations. There is a separate drone directorate has formed in 2021. Okay, where now we have almost 20 plus people in that team who actually manages that entire drone directorate operations. Okay, so car is being issued by Director General of Civil Aviations. Car for ARPAs was issued under the provision rule of 15A and 133A of Aircraft Rules 1937. So that car which was there in 2018, it has a very lengthy document, very complex document. Lot of things were not clear. Lot of people had back and forth on understanding and all the things. Lot of people have reported back to DGCA that whatever the car has been released, there are a lot of ambiguity and lot of confusion into it. Has almost 25 plus forms to be filled, okay, for various activities over there, and there was huge amount of fees. Penalty was also defined very high and all the things. So it was like very much rather supporting the drone operations or drone adoption in India. It was more of hindrance for people. So people were worried about, even the aero modeling was covered under that car. Okay, so even aero modeling activities was also affected because of that car. And then wrote back to DGCA that you need to relook into this document and come up with some better rules and regulations with respect to the drones as well as the aero modeling segment. Okay, so that's how the DGCA invited a lot of people from the industry, from the education, from the research background, those who are involved into the drone as well as remotely flying aircrafts. And those people, there was a committee formed or team formed of almost 25 to 30 people. Even people from Bombay Flying were selected that point in time, and they were there called to Delhi for 2 days workshops, and lot of discussions has happened around the drone rules. And on 20 not 20, I would say 15th of July 2021, DGCA released the first draft of drone rules for the people to read and come back with the suggestion within a month's period. Okay, so that is on 15th of July they have released that document, and it was given to the people who were part of that team, and they had made some suggestions, some changes into the existing or initial rules and regulations which were set with respect to the drone rules. And then after hearing up second time on the suggestions, all those suggestions which were feasible and acceptable was incorporated into the final drone rules 2021, and the final drone rules of 2021 was released on 25th of August 2021. So if you see our drone directorate or drone industry in India, the first rules or the first perfect rules, I would say, was released in 25th August 2021. Okay, so it had lot of segments like type certifications. So type certifications means once you manufacture drone and you want to make more parts of that drones. You want to make it for selling it for other people, usage for other people. You need to get your drone certified. Okay, so that is what we call as a type certification of drone. Simultaneously, you are flying a drone, or you are building a drone, or you're making a drone. Your drone is type certified, and you are selling that drone. So you need to have the registration of that drone. Even you have purchased a drone from some other third party organization or third party OEM, that drone, if you're intending to fly in India, you need to make sure that that drone is registered on the DGCA platform or a portal. Okay. Simultaneously, there has to be, as we need that more and more drones will be there, use cases will be there. So we need people to fly those drones. So we need pilot organizations. Okay. So which will be actually making trainings available for the pilots. Okay. So you need two things. One is more and more pilots, and those pilots needs to be trained by an authorized organizations only. Nobody could be just train each other and all that thing. So it should be trained by an authorized training organization. So RPTO is what we call as remote pilot training organization. So similar to like our BFC. Okay, so as we said in 2018-19 we were the first. So we were the FTO who was adopted and started training based on the initial guidelines. Okay, so we adopted that car which was released in 2018, and started flying. So based on all our learnings and our experience, DGCA has approached us also to formulate the drone rules 2021. So there were two people who was nominated from BFC and were part of that initial training and seminars for setting up the drone rules 2021. Okay, then there is something on the insurance, then the zones like Shubham talk about red zone, green zone, yellow zone, and height at what we can fly, where we cannot fly, why we cannot fly. So all those things are been defined into this drone rules 2021. Okay, so that is what is about drone rules 2021, released on 25th of August 2021. So remember this date. Okay, this is important date, so you know from when the drone rules have been incorporated and we are following. After that, there were a couple of amendments to these drone rules, but those were very minor amendments. Okay, not a major amendment, but definitely we are looking forward to have a major amendment coming up in next couple of months, because current rule what we see, drone rules 2021, is only applicable for VLOS condition only. Okay, so currently the rules are applicable only for VLOS segment only. Okay, we will be actually having the amendment into the drone rules 2021 with respect to BVLOS, that is beyond visual line of sight. Okay, now I forgot to talk about two important documents. One is the AIP. AIP is Aeronautical Information Publication, is a prime document containing permanent information of long-term validity essential for flight operation. It is published by each ICAO state for its territory. So these two documents are related to civil aviation or commercial airlines. Okay, basically when you are flying aeroplanes or flying aircraft from one location to another location, you need to follow these two documents. Okay, one is the AIP, that is Aeronautical Information Publication, which is been published by each ICAO state or country, I would say. Okay, so India will be having its own AIP document. Similarly, with respect to each aerodrome or airport, there will be something called NOTAM. Okay, NOTAM is nothing but notice to airmen. Okay, this is announcement transmitted by means of telecommunication containing information concerning the establishment, condition or change in aeronautical facility, service, procedure or hazard, that timely knowledge of which is essential to person concerned with the flight operation. It is information of temporary validity. So NOTAM is very temporary validity. Okay, usually up to 1 month or max 3 months, I would say. Okay, for example, I would say like new terminal is coming up in, let's say, Mumbai, or there is a new airport which is going to come up. Okay, all this information which is of temporary nature. Okay, or for example, there was a terminal 1 stopped for operations at Delhi airport. Okay, only Indigo flights were taking off from that terminal 1, whereas all other flights were taking off from terminal 2 and terminal 3 only. So that kind of information we will get it in NOTAM. Whereas a permanent setup, okay, for example, the new airports which are getting set up in India, like at Vashi, there is a new Mumbai airport which is going to set up right now and will be fully functional. So all that information will be there in AIP document, okay, which is a permanent in nature. those information will be there in AIP, that is Aeronautical Information Publication. Temporary nature of the, like if I'm setting up a new infrastructure, let's say at Surat Airport I intend to upgrade a radar, or I'm going to start instrument landing system over there. Right now in Surat I can only fly in the daytime, I cannot land in the evening or there or night time, something like that. So in that scenario, if I'm upgrading my infrastructure or new infrastructure is going to change or all the things, I will initially put it in a NOTAM kind of thing. Any kind of thing, any new service, new setup, new stoppage, starting, all that things will come initially in a NOTAM. Once it's become a permanent nature of service, then it will get adopted into AIP. Okay, that is Aeronautical Information Publication. Okay, so these are the two important documents from civil aviation or from the commercial airlines. Okay, coming back to our drone rules 2021, as I said, it was released in August 25th of August 2021. So by this 25th of August, we'll be completing 4 years of our drone rules 2021. Okay, and as well as our drone industry will be 4 years old. So we have still 6 years to achieve our target of becoming a global hub for drone industry. That is the aim what India is carrying, and we are moving ahead. There are a lot of back and forth is happening with the DGCA and the industry people and the researchers, educationers, and the people who are involved into drone industry to making sure that we achieve our target. Maybe not in next 6 years, but before that. Okay, the earlier. So that's why you see the government, central government is pushing more about manufacturing the drone within the India. Okay, so lot of companies, like if you see drone rules 2021 when it was released, we had hardly 20 to 25 startups at that point in time. But right now, if you see, there are almost 300 plus. I would rather say 350 plus of OEMs and startups has they are working effectively to making and grow this industry. Okay, so you see there are startups which are started manufacturing propellers, manufacturing motors, manufacturing ESCs, as well as lot of components. Okay, we still lacking in manufacturing the flight controllers and some critical components like GPS sensors and all those things, because we didn't have that kind of technology to build the semiconductor. So our even semiconductor industry is now becoming within the country itself. You know, you'll be hearing lot of news related where the semiconductor chips are now getting developed or will getting developed in India itself. Okay, so along with the drone industry, there are other industries which are also growing, like semiconductor is there, geoinformatics is there, and all other manufacturing. So we are heading towards a very big economy. Right now, you must have heard that we have almost, earlier we were fourth in the global economy list. Now we had almost now. So we have just recently surpassed, I think, Japan, or we are very close with the Japan right now. So we are now at number 3 in the global economy. So we are heading, our economy is also growing as well as our industries. Okay, because of all the adoptions or the new changes what we have brought in into our industries, various industries I would say, as well as the drone industry what we are incorporated, and this industry is a future of all the technologies I would say. Today, if you see the drone rules or drone industry in India is similar to what you had in 80s and 90s, your computer industries or your mobile revolution what has happened in 2005 or 2010 period. Okay, you see whenever the initially computers were released, the desktop and laptop computers were available for normal people, the people who are using for day to day. So people were thinking how the computers will be useful for a common man. Okay, that point in time, nobody thought about that. Right now, you see, we can't be without a computer. Every function, every application is dependent on computer nowadays. Okay, similarly, mobile. Okay, when mobile initially was introduced, people were thinking about saying it is just a communication device. Okay, it is just a device which will help in communicating with in long distance communication kind. But you see now, mobile has gone beyond that. Is not only about the communication, but it has almost, I mean, we can't imagine today without being with the mobile. Okay, we can't think about keeping mobile away from us even for a moment, right? A mobile is always there with us wherever we go, wherever we doing, whatever we are doing, and all the things. So similarly, the drone rules, drone industry is currently at that phase what I was saying about the computers in 80s and 90s, or whereas the mobiles in 2005, uh, drone will also become a part of our day-to-day life. Okay, it's only matter of time, next 5 to 10 years, and this will also take off our life. We cannot imagine without being drones. Okay, all our day-to-day things, lot of things like you saw about, right? We're talking about 10 minutes delivery, the surveillance, monitoring, agriculture, like farmers. Initially farmers were using a cow and handmade tools and all the things. Then there came the tractor, which made a huge revolution in the agriculture field. Now the time has come where the drone will change the entire perspective of the agriculture field also. Like that's why you see the fertilizers which has changed now. We talk about the nano urea and all that things, the liquid based fertilizer. This has come because of the drones and all the things, okay, which made a lot of effective usage of drones into agriculture field. Similarly, in the industrial inspection, surveillance, monitoring, if you see the drone industry in last 3 years growth, you will see there is a huge adoption into the surveillance segment. So right now, if you see from the industry perspective, it is not the agriculture segment which is heading the drone adoption, but it is the surveillance. Okay, inspection, monitoring, and surveillance segment has the number one adoption of the drones, followed by agriculture. At number three is cinematographers. Okay, or what the film industry, I would say. Okay, which has adopting hugely the drones, and then followed by other industries like I would say that probably there will be a tough competition between the cinematography as well as agriculture, with the delivery drones coming into the pictures. Okay, so the delivery segment will definitely take over or bring a huge disrupt into the drone industry. Okay, so you will see drones flying across the cities when the this BULS rules and regulations comes. Last year there was a new document or draft was released by DGCA on setting up the vertiports. Okay, also the RTR, the remote pilot telephony procedures. Okay, because when your drones are flying without your visual line of sight, you need to have a very strong communication. So you need a strong rules of communication. So that RTR, which was there initially managed by Wireless Planning Commission, it will be now taken over by the DGCA completely. Okay, so there is a new certification has also come up. The rules were published, draft rules was published on 3rd February 2025, and recently, the final rules for RTR was also released by DGC. Okay, so there is lot of changes are happening in the rules and regulations. Lot of I would say adoptions are happening. So like vertiport I was talking about, or what we call as drone ports. Okay, you need to have a ecosystem set up. Like for example, if my drone is flying from Mumbai and it has to go and some land at some other location, so that other location should also have some kind of mechanism to accept that drone, to land that drone at that location, or have that facility where probably your drone battery would have got discharged, and probably your batteries needs to be changed or needs to be charged at the new location, or the location where it lands. So all that ecosystem has to be set up. So that is what we called as vertiport. Okay, so from where the drones will be taking off vertically, and they will be flying across the location and landing. Okay, so there is a proposal where there will be lot of vertiports will be set up on the highways. It will be set up on expressways and all the things. So every, I would say, almost like 25 to 50 kilometer range, there will be a vertiport set up across locations in India. Okay, so the rules have already been set up last year only, and we are working towards, because it is not only about setting up vertiport. Vertiport is just a setting up the infrastructure over there, but that usage of that vertiport will come only in picture when we have something called BVLOS. Okay, so until unless that rules and regulations is not there is no point in setting up the vertiport. So we at our Igatpuri base also we are planned. That's why you see we have a dedicated land over there, huge land. There are almost two plots are available with us over there. Right now we have only get authorization for one plot. Second plot we have not yet made it ready, because we are waiting for the norms, the rules and regulations. Then accordingly to the rules and regulations, we will be setting up our the additional plots and the base over there. So we planning to set up a helipad along with the vertiports at our Igatpuri base. Okay. So any questions so far on the drone rules? I mean, basic things. We have still not get inside deep into the drone rules, but we just have talking about, and talking about the aviation world in the industry. Any questions you have?
Sir, what is the full form of QCI?
Quality Council of India.
Okay, sir.
We'll see much detail in type certifications. I'll talk more about it. I will give you about it details. Okay, it's one of the organization which certifies, like you saw ISI marking, right? Any product which is, we say we have a standardization and the certified body, that is a QCI. So QCI certifies the product over there. Okay, simultaneously drone are being certified by QCI. So QCI is a body which regulates and monitors and certifies on behalf of DGC. Okay, so they are the body which monitors, which makes sure that your product what you are making is as per the standards defined. Okay, so that is what is QCI. Any other questions? Shubham, Soham?
No, sir. No, not at the moment. Thanks.
Okay. So coming back to drone rules 2021, there are two things which is very important. So if you see the drone rules 2021, the title of that document, so right as we said, Aircraft Act. When we say Aircraft Act means it is 1934. Okay, or when we say 1934 means we are talking about Aircraft Act. Similarly, when we say 1937 means what? It is Aircraft Rules. Or when we say Aircraft Rules, that means we are talking about document which was released in 1937. Similarly, when we talk about drone rules, we are talking about drone rules 2021. Okay, so drone rules come into rules 2021, which is called as drone rules 2021. Each has specified the classifications and categorizations of drones. So if you see unmanned aircraft system, UAS, okay, has been categorized into three categories, that is rotorcraft, aeroplane and hybrid. Don't get mistaken by the word aeroplane. Here when we say aeroplane means it is unmanned aircraft system, not the commercial aeroplane or the civil airlines. Okay, it is talking about aeroplane with respect to unmanned aircraft system, means which is remotely flown. There is no pilot on board. Okay, we are talking about that aeroplane. So unmanned aircraft systems are categorized as per the drone rules 2021 into three categories, that is rotorcraft, aeroplane and hybrid. Further, they are classified or classification of unmanned aircraft system in five types. One is nano, micro, small, medium and large. Okay, so categorization is based on type. Okay, the type of unmanned aircraft system, whereas classification is based on weight. Okay, so classification, when we say, it is based on weight, the maximum takeoff weight applicable for that particular unmanned aircraft system. It can be a rotorcraft, it can be aeroplane, or it can be hybrid category also. So nano can have been of less than 250 grams. Micro will be more than 250 grams but less than 2 kg. Small will be more than 2 kg, less than 25 kg. Medium will be more than 25 kg, less than 150 kg. And large will be more than 150 kg. Okay, that is how we categorize and classify our drones. Okay, so categorization, again three categories: rotorcraft, aeroplane and hybrid. Classification based on weight, that is nano, micro, small, medium and large. Okay, any questions on this? Yes, Shubham.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that in US categories, the second one that you told, aeroplane, is it actually mentioned in the rules, because generally in the lingo we call it fixed wing. So
Right,
do
that
we
aeroplane
mention
is a
fixed
fixed
wing?
wing.
No,
Aeroplane is
so
also called as a fixed wing.
yes, it is called fixed wing. So for the perspective of the rules, should we call it aeroplane, or in the rules also it is mentioned fixed wing?
In a rule, it is mentioned as a aeroplane.
Okay, okay, okay. Thanks.
Okay, so it is aeroplane.
Okay, thanks.
But when we see that, why we call it as a fixed wing is because lot of time this confusion happens. As I said, when we say aeroplane means we always think from a civil aviations or commercial aeroplane. Okay, that's why
Correct.
we in drone we called it as a fixed wing. Okay, so when
Correct.
we are learning, we can call it as a aeroplane. Category is aeroplane. We can call it as a fixed wing. Like hybrid is called VTOL. Okay,
Yes.
hybrid is a part of fixed wing as well as rotorcraft. So it is a
Correct.
combination of your rotorcraft and aeroplane, which is called hybrid, which is also called as VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing. Okay, so there are different terminologies, but you should know what right terminology is there. When we are talking in a perspective of a category, then we should call it as rotorcraft, aeroplane, and hybrid only. But in general terms, we can call it as fixed wing. In general terms, we can call it as VTOL.
Yeah.
In general term, we call it as rotorcraft. Okay, not rotorcraft. We general terms we call it as drone. Normally, when we say drone means what? It's a rotorcraft, four propellers, right? It's called rotorcraft as a technical term or a right term with respect to the drone rules 2020.
Okay.
Okay. Similarly, from the weight perspective, the five categories, what five classifications, what we say, or class, what we call it: nano, micro, small, medium, and large. Okay, these are again based on the maximum takeoff weight. Yes, Rashish.
So can you repeat the sizes for the
I'm coming
classification?
to that. I'm coming to that. See, earlier, if you see this slide, this doesn't have any picture because I want you to focus on the words. The words, what are there, very important with respect to the drone rules 21. I will be sending you by end of the day today on an email the drone rules 2021 document, a summary sheet. Whatever the slides I am showing you, there will be a summary sheet of this, which will be helpful you to read and understand. It is like a small tips notes for your learning and preparing yourself for the theory exam. As well as I will be sending you a summary of drone rules also. It is a two-page document, and then I will be sending you a sample question paper also. Okay, so these four documents by end of the day I will be sending it to you. Feel free for yourself to take notes as you want. Feel free to take a screenshot of whatever you are seeing on the screen as you want. Okay, but it is not really required. It's all up to you whether you want to do it or not do it. Anyway, I'll be sending you those four documents what I mentioned on the mail. Read that summary sheet. Okay, the document which I'm talking about, the 11-page document it is. Okay, which has all the notes what is required for you to prepare yourself for your theory test and your understanding also. Apart from that, in the group also I will be sending lot of images and some points which will be helpful for your preparation. So next 2 days I will be lot of putting content in the group also for you to consume, and that group will be there lifelong with you as much as you want. Okay, so that I will be sharing. I have multiple groups where, and then once you complete your training, I will add you to the big group of Maharashtra and Gujarat where all the drone pilots are part of that group, and then you will be also part of the other bigger groups of country which we have across pan India, all the drone pilots and the people who does projects and people who does business, and all those things will be there. So you will be part of a bigger ecosystem once you complete your training and all that things. Okay. So if you see this particular slide here, I have not specified any diagram, any images, something here because I wanted you to read and understand these words. Okay. Next slide, I have more better explanation for from that words. So if you see the rotorcraft means what? Four and more propellers. Okay. Aeroplane means it's a fixed wing. Okay, as Shubham told about. Okay. Similarly, hybrid is a combination of your aeroplane and rotorcraft, which is called as hybrid, or it is also called as VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing. So these are the three categories of drones, or I would say UAS. It will not called as drones, but it will called as category of unmanned aircraft system. Okay. Then there is a subcategory. I didn't talk about subcategory at initial time, but there is a subcategory So any of these three categories has a subcategory called as remote piloted aircraft system. That means you are remotely piloting that system. You can remotely pilot a rotorcraft, you can remotely pilot an aeroplane, you can remotely pilot a hybrid. So in that system, it is subcategory as RPAS. It is called as RPAS. You can also have a subcategory as model RPAS. So like basically your aeroplanes, okay, the aero modeling aeroplanes what you fly, okay, those come under the model RPAS subcategory. Okay, there are additional norms which categorize or a model RPAS. That is, it cannot be beyond 25 kg. It needs to be flown only under visual line of sight. Then only it will be subcategorized as model RPAS. That you will see in detail in drone rules document also. I will run you through the drone rules when we actually see the document that also. Okay. And the third subcategory is autonomous UAS. Autonomous UAS means the pilot is not actually flying, or pilot is not actually carrying out any flying operations of that particular UAS. It can be hybrid, it could be aeroplane, or it could be rotorcraft. For example, when we are flying agriculture drone in agriculture field for, let's say, spraying or seeding, it is not remotely piloted. It is always flown in autonomous. Because if you try to fly it remotely, I mean as a remote in your hand, you will not have that efficiency of flying, or you will not do the spraying efficiently or effectively. Okay, there will be lot of challenges and lot of issues would be there when you are flying remotely in the field, because every field is unique. Every field has its own layout. Every field will have its own challenges or obstacles, I would say. So in that scenario, you cannot remotely fly the agriculture drone in it. Simultaneously, if you are like, for example, I'm talking about we were doing a surveillance for telecom towers as well as power line towers. There, if you try to fly the drone remotely piloted, it's a very time consuming and tedious task. Okay, so what project I did, I will talk about that project in detail as you know every time the example comes. So I'll tell you, we did started that project initially by flying the drones remotely. Okay, I mean the pilot used to fly the drones, and when we saw that the footage what was captured by those drone pilots, so every drone pilot had its own way of flying the drone, so which was not uniform, and the amount of data capture was not proper. A lot of challenges were there initially when we were flying the drones by remote pilot. Later on, after doing couple of flights, we understood that we cannot fly by a pilot. So we need to have a pilot, but he should be flying these drones autonomously. So we have to set up a plan of flight. Okay, so we got one of the vendor who actually made a design for us to develop a flight plan for flying the drones around those power line towers. Okay, so it is to fly one direction, go up, then capture the other side, then go other side. So all the four sides is to capture all the images. Then it is to circle around the power line towers and capture the continuous video, 360-degree video, and all that things. Okay, from top to bottom and all that thing. So all these different flight plans were required so that we have a uniform flying of drones as well as the data captured by those drones, because we were actually capturing data in three formats. Maximum it was like RGB, then thermal, and the LiDAR. Okay, so LiDAR flying was very less, but maximum it was about the RGB and the thermal. So RGB was a huge contribution into that project because a lot of things was visible and need to be known visible area. There were some advantages of capturing the thermal images, which I will talk more about when we come to the topic where we said about how thermal images are more useful than the RGB images also in some segments, some industries or some surveillance projects and all that things. Okay, so coming back to category and subcategory. So category again, rotorcraft, aeroplane, and hybrid. These are the primarily three categories. Subcategories is remotely piloted aircraft system, model RPAS, and autonomous UAS. So these are the three subcategories of drone rules 2021 mentioned. Okay, so any questions on category, subcategory, or we can move to the next topic?
None from my side.
Okay. Okay, let's move ahead. So next is classification. We saw in the classification segment, which is defined based on the weight, that is the maximum takeoff weight of a drone. So nano is less than 250 grams, micro is 250 grams to 2 kg, small is 2 kg to less than 225 kg, medium is 25 kg to 150 kg, and large is max more than 150 kg. Okay, so these are the 5 classification based on the weight. So if you see there is a drone which is of 2 kg. So what classification it will be if it is of 2 kg?
It will be micro.
Micro?
Yes, because 2 kg and 2.1 kg will become small. Up to 2 kg is micro. Am I
So
correct?
when no, it's not like that.
Okay.
So if you see whenever there is a limit like 2 kg, like okay, I specifically give this example because I want to make sure that that doubt is cleared from all of your minds.
Yes.
Okay, so when we say 2 kg, 2 kg belongs to small class, less than 2 kg. So 2 kg is not part of micro. Okay, so once you reach 2 kg, you are small class. Okay, so your boundary starts with that weight. Okay, boundary ends at that particular weight. So the moment you reach 2 kg, you are small. Less than 2 kg, less than 250 grams, less than 150 grams. Okay, so nano less than 2. The moment you, that's why you see the nano drones, they will be always 249 grams. They will be not 250 grams. Because
Correct.
the moment you reach 250 grams, it will be no longer called as nano. It will be micro. Okay, so that's why you see any nano drone, okay, they will be always less than 250, 249, 247 kind of things. Okay, similarly micro or even small, okay, small will be always like 24.9. The drones which we are flying in our trainings, okay, agribots, they are 24.9. They are not 25 because the moment they reach 25, it will no longer be a small class, it will be medium. Clear? I hope
Yes,
now it's
absolutely.
clear, right? So
Absolutely.
remember this: whenever you are crossing the boundary, you are in the next segment. Okay. So nano is less than 250, micro is less than 2 kg, small is less than 25, medium is less than 150, and large is greater than 150. So anything above 150, I mean, the moment you cross 150, you are large. But now, where is the large ending? So here in this classification, it is not defined. But if you read the drone rules 2021, there is something, a line mentioned in segment number 2, rule number 3 in segment 2. Okay, it says that the moment you cross 500 kg, your drone rules are not only applicable to that US, but 1937 aircraft rules will be also applicable to that. Okay, I will show you that line item also when we see the drone rules. So understand? So large का definition कहाँ तक है? Greater than 150 up to 500 kg. Okay, so that is the range. If somebody asks you, officially, I mean, directly it is not specified in a classification. Classification comes under the segment 3. Okay, categorization and classification comes in segment 3 of drone rules 2021. Okay, so in that segment you do not see the outer limit of large, but then somewhere else it's written about this range. Okay, so the large is up to 500 grams, 500 kg, sorry. तो 500 kg है, so let's say 501 kg है, it will be still a large, classified as a large. It will still follow your drone rules 2021, but along with drone rules 2021, it has to follow 1937 aircraft rules also. So what would be the application of those drones? Any idea what could be the application of those drones which will be more than 150 kg or even more than 500 kg? Yeah,
In
Shubham.
civil applications, we can say air taxis,
Correct.
delivery.
Yes, very good. So maybe civil applications, commercial air applications, like that's why I tell you that the BVLOS and this vertiport regulations which are there going to come or been there, this will actually change this higher segment. higher classification of drones. You see, currently globally, this small segment is a very big segment. Okay, the small 2 kg to 25 kg maximum right now, almost 90% of drones are in this class. Okay, whereas you don't see much of medium drones or much of large drones. Okay, you will see large or medium drones mostly by a very higher organizations or maybe by defense and all those things, but there is no much of civil applications of this segment. Okay, these will come once you have BVLOs and vertiports applicable, but then you will have a bigger capacity of drones. Okay, probably like drone taxis, your drone deliveries. Delivery right now we are only talking about 2 kg to 10 kg of deliveries, or maximum up to 25 kg of deliveries. But right now, even if you see medium, the range is defined from 25 to 150 kg. As of now, DJC is only giving up to 50 kg. They are only certifying drones up to 50 kg. Some drones are already into the type certification, which are of 100 kgs, within the range of 100 kgs. Still, that segment is not completely opened or given as a authorization to the people. Okay, so you see the medium still, and large, we do not have any drone certified in a large segment also as of now. All the large drones belongs to defense. Now if you see from with respect to the drone rules 2021, these drone rules are not applicable to Army, Navy, and Air Force. They have their own set of rules and guidelines to follow. They do not follow drone rules 2021. Okay, so they have military heads its own, or armed forces have their own regulations and all that things. Okay, so they will be following more or less on a similar lines, but they will be having their own separate rules and regulations to operate this thing. So even, for example, if I developed a drone for military, maybe I will initially follow the drone rules 2021, but moment it has been acquired by the armed forces, it will no longer follow the drone rules 2021. Like for example, the drones which have been manufactured by Asteria, Idea Forge, or IG drones. These are some OEMs which are manufacturing drones for what we call as defense. Okay, a lot of, like recently in the war also with the Pakistan, we had used extensively drones. You see, there was almost, even Pakistan side also had used extensive drones. And so if you see what we are talking about, I talked about World War I, it was about trenches and rifles. World War II was about tanks and aircrafts. World War III will be a war of technology. It will be the war of technology. People will not be fighting against each other. It is the technology. It is the I would say what a remote things. What will be like that? There could be a tanks which will be driven remotely. There would be drones which will drone. We are already seeing the applications of it. The conflict between Israel and Iran, and as well as Palestine, as well as Russians and Ukraine, where the war is happening and all the things. And almost we are saying they are not fighting. Their people or the soldiers are not fighting against each other. This is all, the war is happening currently at the technology level. Okay, or at a higher level where we are flying, we are doing all those conflicts as of now. So if you see in future, I would not encourage that, say the World War III would happen, but unfortunately if it would happen, it would be more of a technology warfare. Okay, you would have heard that a famous quote from Einstein also, that if World War III happens, the World War IV will be happening with swords and sticks, because you will not have anything left out at that point in time. No technology, no human race, and all the things. I mean, whatever the best people who survives, they will be only fighting with the sticks and the swords. Okay, so that's how the evolution would happen if it is. So that's why, all these conflicts, what happens, immediately there is a conflict happen, the other countries will step in, and they will bring that stability or peace and all that thing. So they don't want, no country actually wants war, but sometimes the conflict do happens because of superiority and all the things are happening. Okay, or because of all this terrorism and all the things happens. Okay, so coming back to, so now we can talk offline so many things, and we have 5 days to talk about. Even when we are at Igatpuri, we will be talking a lot of things, offline topics and of adoption, applications of the drones and all the things. We'll see the drone industry from a perspective of how adoptions or application happening in various industries, various segments, and all the things. Okay. So coming back to our topic about classifications and categorization, any questions? Okay. Or we'll take a 5 minutes break, 5 or 10 minutes break, and then we'll continue. Though we are extending our timelines, but this first module is very important because this is the base and the core of your training. Okay, the rules and regulations, the drone rules 2021 is the basics or the core of your entire training. Okay, so we normally spend more time when we are discussing about this. So any questions you have, or we are good to take a small break and then